Hello and welcome to Tips from a Roller. I'm Patrick and I am here to talk to you today about brand awareness and how brand equity influences growth and your bottom line in sort of a lot of detail, but pretty quick. I want to go over relating business outcomes to the concept of brand equity, defining the factors that influence business outcomes, and mapping the flow of that influence. This is a little bit sort of technical, maybe a little dry, so I want to go through it fairly quickly, but my hope is just to provide finer detail on how an audience or a market develops feelings and loyalty toward a brand and a product. So when you're undertaking brand awareness efforts, you can think about it with a lot of detail. So I want to go through the video basically building this map. The highlighted in green elements here, relative price and market share, are the ones that actually influence the money of your business. So I'm going to start with them and kind of build out from there. Price sensitivity, or relative price, is the change in price that consumers tolerate before moving to a different brand. And market share is the share of total purchases in your product category or market that consumers make specifically with your brand. So basically, price sensitivity, can you charge more money than your competitors? And market share, if you want to grow, you might be bound by the size of your market, but you can always collect more of that market to yourself. Those are the foundation here, relative price and market share. The next two elements are differentiation and share of voice. Differentiation is how much your brand and product stand out from others in your category. This might be just based on features of your product, like your product might just be better than your competitors, or might work better. It can also be based on more subtle factors like what you put into your branding or your advertising. I think a good example that I'm not super familiar with, but I see their ads all the time, is the insurance industry, like Progressive, State Farm, Geico. They put a ton of money into advertising, and a lot of it has very little to do with insurance. They're just trying to be very creative and memorable and engaging because they're essentially all selling the same thing. So they can't really differentiate that well based on their actual product. So they put tons and tons of effort differentiating based on the characters that are in their ads. And share of voice is the portion of conversation in your category that mentions your brand. So a lot of people may be talking about insurance. Its share of voice is basically how many people are specifically mentioning Progressive when they talk about insurance. Differentiation affects relative price, but it doesn't affect market share. Share of voice has an effect on both price sensitivity and market share. Purchase loyalty is willingness to make repeat purchases with your brand. So basically people that are loyal by buying again and again. And attitudinal loyalty is the commitment to your brand based on emotional attachment or brand preference. A really good example here for attitudinal loyalty is, since they are businesses, sports teams. Like, I live in San Francisco and the Warriors have had kind of a dynasty for a while, and people are very attached to the Warriors and to Steph Curry particularly. And one's a team and one's a person, but they're both brands as well. And you can think of those emotions toward both of those brands as attitudinal loyalty. Attitudinal loyalty affects relative price and not market share. Purchase loyalty, the other way around, it affects market share. Brand trust is an expectation that your brand will behave and your product will behave in ways that reflect what you say, the promise you make about your brand and your product. And brand affect is the likelihood that your product or brand brings positive emotions to a consumer. That's either through their use of the product, they develop strong emotions because of that, or because of maybe your advertising or just your corporate behavior. If you're like Patagonia and you do a lot of relatively beneficial things for the environment. Brand affect and brand trust both affect the things below them, attitudinal loyalty and purchase loyalty. And through those affect both of the bottom line factors as well. Hedonic value is the enjoyment or pleasure a product or brand provides a customer. That may sound a bit like brand affect, but brand affect is kind of emotions that have developed toward a brand, and hedonic value is more like in the present moment. Are you enjoying or laughing at? Are you enjoying a product or really laughing at right now brand's ads or whatever? And then utilitarian value is the extent to which a product can perform functions in the everyday life of a consumer. Essentially, like, does it work? So creativity, when you advertise brand awareness, seems to influence hedonic value positively. Being creative provides more hedonic value, like entertainment or laughter or whatever. But it doesn't work so well for utilitarian value, because utilitarian value is basically like straightforward. Is this thing going to work for me? So hedonic value affects brand affect. Utilitarian value affects both, actually. So this is the entire diagram again. You may not apply it directly to your job or the advertising you do, but I just wanted to go through it to kind of just give you the detail and the context and background for thinking more deeply of just about your movements in the market and your efforts in advertising and specifically brand awareness. All right, so thanks for watching Tips from a Roller.